So we awaken to, I don't know whether this is good news or whether, because this should just be Tuesday.
Yeah.
Like, we should not have this kind of joy and relief. And there was such a range of emotions when the verdict came in. I was in the hallway. People were sharing it. Heather B was in the hallway. She's like, Karen, ooh, breaking news, da-da-da-da. Like, everybody's talking about it.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, are people without melanin talking about it? 866-801-8255. This feels similar, not to the extent of OJ.
Yeah.
Where there may be different.
Where people may have completely different kind of theories about this or how it all works out or whatever. Let me just tell you that.
Well, let's tell them what happened.
Yeah.
Amber Guyger, the murderer of Botham Jean, who was in his apartment in Dallas, eating ice cream, minding his business, bending over, doing whatever people do in their apartment, murdered, gunned down in his own apartment by a police officer, former police officer, Amber Guyger. She has been convicted.
Yes.
She's facing up to 99 years in prison. We'll see what ends up happening in the sentencing. But go ahead, Drew.
Listen, when the verdict came in, I was at home and I was like, I didn't have nobody to talk to about it. I was like, I'm going up to Sirius right now. I don't have to be on Karen until 3, but I'm just going up to the studio because I need somebody to talk to right now about it. Because I think that, we wait on justice sometimes because we recognize the fact that it's not guaranteed for us. And we wait with bated breath for justice sometimes. And then when it actually comes and we don't have to witness all of the subterfuge, and we don't have to witness all of the just the wrangling that goes against justice for us sometimes. And it happened, not fast. The trial happened fast. The getting to the trial was ridiculous. It took over a year. She was out on bond for over a year, walking free, just walking the streets.
Eating ice cream in her apartment.
Yeah. Sexting her man.
I was nervous because Lee Merritt had tweeted the judge allowed for them to basically, the jury, to consider a version of stand your ground.
Absolutely.
Which made a lot of people out there extreme, like, what kind of shenanigans are they pulling now? What's going on here?
That was my first response too. I was like, oh shit, this is a wrap.
Yeah. Because what stand your ground has meant is no justice, that people can indiscriminately. But in the last two cases, there was a case in Florida where a man approached a woman at a convenience store, and she was parked in a handicapped spot, and he approached her husband or her boyfriend came out and pushed him for coming up on his woman like that.
Yeah.
And then the man was backing up as this white guy pulls out a gun and shoots him, and he claims stand your ground. The jury in that case as well was like, nope, you murdered him.
Yeah, murder.
You will go to jail.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's with all of the Fergusons and all of the Baltimores and all of the cases throughout, you go all the way back to Grant and all the other cases where we just didn't see justice. Eric Gardner in New York, Terrence Stansbury. I think the pendulum has swung a little bit, and I feel like two things happened. First of all, it was a black judge.
Yeah.
And let's just play her reading of the verdict.
The jury having reached a verdict, Ms. Guyger and your team, would you please stand? We, the jury, unanimously find the defendant, Amber Guyger, guilty of murder as charged in the indictment. No outburst. And it is signed by the presiding juror, who is juror number 11.
That was Judge Tammy Kemp, and she's apparently not to be played with, because people, when she said no outburst, they
got it.
They swallowed that quick.
Yeah, they got it.
She's not
together.
to be played with, and I appreciate that. There was also 5, according to Lee Merritt, there were 5 jurors who were black. And this is a clarion call for us to show up. When you get that notice in the mail, don't throw it away. Don't try to get out of it, because we need you on juries.
Absolutely.
We need you on juries. It only takes one person to hang a jury. It only takes one person to stand their ground in a jury pool to say, no, this person is not going to get away with this heinous crime. If George Zimmerman, if there were 5 black people on that jury, I think it was like only 5 people on the jury. If there were 3 or 2, if Trayvon Martin had an equal representation on that jury, George Zimmerman would have been in jail.
Absolutely.
Right? And so we need to show up. We need to show up. We need to be present. We need to be active. And this is just one of our civic duties.
Yeah.
Voting. I mean, and it might not seem like anything, but imagine if this were an all-white jury.
Yeah. Listen, I, as someone who has done witness prep hundreds of times, I can tell you that in the jury box, race is one of the first things that we go to when we start to look at how will this juror respond to what we say on the stand. We look at race because if and you don't have to take my expert opinion for it, even though I got paid to do it. You don't have to take my expert opinion for it. You can go back if you watched the R. Kelly documentary. The white male juror said repeatedly he did not believe the black women who were testifying against R. Kelly because he didn't like the way they sounded and he didn't like the way they were dressed. And so what I would say to black folks, if you get that jury summons, you may be the only person in that entire jury box who looks at an African American witness or an African American defendant, no matter what the situation is or what the trial is, who hears us.
Listen, Rachel Gentile was a witness in the case against George Zimmerman with Trayvon Martin, didn't get treated very fairly. Trayvon Martin wasn't on trial.
Right.
And yet Rachel Gentile was dismissed. Right. But she was.
But she was on trial. She was.
And it's important. You know, the OJ jury, we remember when Marsha Clark picked them, she was under the impression that black women would have a problem with OJ because he was married to a white woman.
Right. Black women didn't want OJ?
No.
Off top.
Not, but even if black women wanted OJ, what she failed to know, which Chris Darden apparently didn't know as a black man, not really
he probably didn't even listen to him.
Right, entrenched. Oh no, I think Chris Darden was not entrenched in our community.
Yeah,
you can have black skin and not know culture.
That's true.
When I saw how many black women were on that jury, I was like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because what I understood is that black women have witnessed injustice for so long that we vote this way too, by the way. We will put all things aside to vote because we understand the significance of this. This is why even in the 2020 election, they're looking at black women. This is why Stacey Abrams is being talked about so much because she's going out rallying black women. Black women are pivotal on juries and in the voting booth because we're going to always do the right thing, even if it means, I don't like OJ. But this right here is right. So this is interesting how this is playing out. 866-801-8255. If you guys want to talk about relief, I tweeted out, it's a damn shame that instead of just talking about the verdict, so many of us were, I know Clay was like, I don't think she's going to jail. I don't think she's going to spend one day in jail.
Yep.
He was, and he wasn't wrong.
No.
Because based on history, we've watched how many people who's the woman that killed Terrence Crutcher in Oklahoma.
I forgot.
Betty Shelby or something. I think her name is Shelby. Walking free.
Out here walking free, walking these streets.
So, I completely get, the distrust of our justice system because it has been unjust. And I don't even want to say kudos because you did what you were supposed to do.
Yeah. 5
black jurors, 5 Hispanic jurors, and 2 whites.
Interesting. That here's the other piece of it too, Karen. That I tweeted this out earlier. That sometimes I don't think that non-black people understand the emotional trauma that witnessing these senseless murders causes black people. Like that we can't look away. Right? Like we can't just go on with our day. It's more than just the victims looking like us or looking like our family members, but it's like a scary ass reminder sometimes that like this could be us.
Well, I felt that with Botham Jean. I mean, because that was the ultimate violation. You think about your home is your sanctuary.
Yeah.
It is the one place on earth where you think you have dominion. Your home, especially if you have a mortgage or you pay your rent.
Absolutely.
You have a key. This is your place. The biggest violation is to be burglarized. Yep. For somebody to break into your home, it is such a personal, that's your stuff.
The only thing more is to violate your body.
Yes.
Your home or your body. Like that's it.
She did both.
Yeah.
I can't imagine eating ice cream watching Jeopardy and some random person breaks in my home and murders me. Yeah. For what?
Yeah. Somebody breaks into your home off top, but then breaks into your home and inflicts bodily harm / then kills you, right? The terror the terror that that he had to face when that was happening to him. I think about him, and I think about Trayvon Martin all the time in terms of the terror that they felt before, when they were realizing what was happening to them and happening to their bodies at that point.
And for Amber Guyger to walk would have sent a message that I don't know how I was like, if she walks, if she's found not guilty, I don't know what I couldn't even fathom, like, what do we do? If this woman can get away with going into somebody's sovereign domain and murdering them just because she has a badge, because that would be the only reason why this would be justified, right?
The only.
To say she feared for her life, then there's really no, like, how do we?
If she had walked free, we would have just said no justice, that there is no such thing as justice.
Yeah, but what would have been the recourse? Let's walk down. I'm like, I want to explore that for a second, because invariably it's probably going to happen. There's going to be an unjust verdict at some point.
Sad that we just have to mentally accept that.
Yeah. I mean, we have had to.
We have had to.
And what I'm saying is, historically, we've rioted. You know, we've taken to the streets. We rioted and burned stuff down. That hasn't been effective, right?
Ineffective,
we have marched, right? Has that been effective? Honestly,
I don't think not in the modern era.
Okay. All right. Right. So what recourse as a person that studies ways in which people can suss out tragedy and crisis?
Economics.
Economics. That's
economics. Economics. I think economics is our economics and our ability to rally freely with digital spaces, right? Like, I think we need to take the marching mentality onto social media and shame people who actually need to be shamed in these processes, right? I think we oftentimes focus on the wrong people in the ecosystem to shame. I think that sometimes, instead of focusing on Amber Guyger, we ain't shit we can do about her right now, but shame these people who are not pressing charges. Shame the people in the case of, I think about Ed Buck. Start shaming the prosecutor who did not
call
act
him out every day.
Right?
I was thinking
call
about
him out
that
every single day.
Flint, Michigan. I'm like, why isn't there a gallon of dirty water on his front porch every day?
Listen,
every single day there would have been a gallon of dirty water every day. Maybe would have camped out in front of the governor's mansion and do it the way they did in the Urban League back in the day. 10 of us, we're going to get arrested. Yeah. So we have 100 people over the next 10 days who will get arrested. Every single day. We show up with a gallon of water, and we're going to sit here until the governor does something about it. And every day we show up the way we showed up at the lunch counters.
Yeah. And the people who are not acting should be famous for not acting.
I agree.
So we take the sort of march mentality into social spaces, and then we follow that up with economics.
Right. What would have crippled Michigan's Governor Snyder, who was the person that signed off on changing the water source in Flint, Michigan? What would have crippled him as a governor? And these are the ways we need to think about it. Yeah. I'm talking just off the top of my head right now. Didn't go through research to find out what would actually cripple him. But if you live in this area of Michigan, and even if you don't, you have to start thinking, okay, this is the culprit.
Yeah.
What can we do? Okay, we shame him. Put his name out there. Everybody in the world should know that this is the man responsible for dirtying the water and putting lead and killing babies and making them disabled for the rest of their lives. Snyder. Yeah. Governor Snyder. Now, what would hurt him politically?
Let me give you my idea, because I have an idea about this, right?
I love you.
I think that here's what I think would be high impact. There are entire associations of Black physicians, Black accountants, Black engineers, Black Greek letter organizations, all of these professional organizations that represent millions of dollars of income of people, right? And if all of those people got together and sent a letter collectively to say, we, the Black professionals of America, have decided that we are not going to bring our conventions to your state. We are taking a stance. We are also advocating for the members of our organizations, which are innumerable. If you look at Black Greek letter organizations, to say, and we are also not going to bring our tourism dollars to your state until you do something about what is happening in Flint. And we are going to use our newsletters and our digital platforms to keep our entire constituent base updated on your inaction or your action. You have the opportunity to either update us on your action, or we will update our people on your inaction. So I feel like shame plus the economics. Now, whether or not those people were going to bring their conventions to Detroit anyway,
I don't know.
But I can tell you right now, if you start to talk about Black folks coalescing against a common threat, that's news everywhere.
And we used to do that. There were phone chains, right, that got messages across the country in the 50s and 60s, right? So you have 10 people to call. Those 10 people have 10 people to call. Those 10 people. We don't do that. We got so much social media.
Yeah.
Okay, so we can keep this going by you 10 tweeting about it, and then each of you reach out to 10 people. They have to tweet about it the next day. Yeah. And then the next day, everybody has a schedule to tweet about it, so it never rests.
Yeah.
And that's the drumbeat that we don't seem to have organized. And there should be Urban League, NAACP, National Action Network, Rainbow Push, all of the Greeks. Yep. They each have their set of marching orders.
Right.
When X happens, you do this, you do this, you do this, you do this, and everybody acts accordingly. The button gets pushed.
Right. I think
that's a good idea.
I would also put entire social media toolkits on the websites of Black organizations that have all pre-written tweets with hashtags, as well as memes, as well as GIFs that are already there that you can access from that to say, in March, all of the physicians are going to use their social currency, and here's all of it prepackaged for you.
Yes.
NAACP
you know
could do that.
It's Tech
Urban
Tuesday.
League could do that.
It's Tech Tuesday. There has to be. We got we have places where we can buy black, but there needs to be a social activist tech company
toolkit.
that has the toolkit. Has a toolkit that we can
make activism somewhat easier for me.
Thank you. Where I could just go in. We were talking about this yesterday with Elie Mystal, because during a break, he's a Harvard-trained lawyer. Man, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. And we were talking about, Jameson brought out this bingo card of if they say this, what's the response? It's sort of like, and so we're coming up next time he comes on with a list when they say, Black people enslave Black people. Here's the response. Oh, yeah. When they say, this is our country, they're coming here to take our jobs. Here's the response. So we have pointed response, cut and paste responses. Here you go.
Our Jewish and our LGBTQ brothers and sisters have been doing that collectively and systematically for decades. There's a good reason why people have a serious, deeply rooted fear about getting their comments and their questions wrong about either the Holocaust and now just Israel in general. Folks have a lot of trepidation about speaking about Israel in general because they have a true fear of consequences. The fact is that we have let people rumshack our history and our presence in this country and our importance and our beauty and all of those things without any consequences. You say something crazy about the Holocaust, and people who are not practicing the religion of Judaism, who are just part of the Judaism culture, will come ready to rumble. They don't play. And we kind of let people get away with that bullshit for too long,